It's like a magical mystery tour, Mr. A. Where are we now?
Mr. C, we're at the UEA Students' Union, where live bands play.
What sort of bands? Elastic bands?
Well, I think Elastica did play here, but I'm thinking of rock and roll and jive and reggae and fat and all that sort of contemporary stuff. Fantastic.
Why do people come here to listen to that?
It's all about the happiness, Mr. C. You remember Jeremy Bentham?
Jeremy who?
Jeremy Bentham and his theory. He said we want the greatest happiness of the greatest number. Come on, you remember the theory?
A good theory.
The theory of utilitarianism.
So, Mr. A, what on earth is utilitarianism?
Utilitarianism is an ethical theory particularly associated with Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. It is an ethical theory which is all about happiness or pleasure, and so is indirectly associated with pain.
Oh, give me happiness any day, Mr. A. It sounds great. Does this mean I can do whatever I like so long as it makes me happy?
It is almost as simple as that. When faced with a moral choice, the correct choice is the one which produces the greatest happiness for the greatest number as a consequence. That's what Bentham said, anyway.
I get it. So lying to you is neither right nor wrong. It depends on the consequence for the happiness of all.
Exactly so, Mr. C. It's a teleological ethical theory.
A what?
Teleological, Mr. C, from the ancient Greek telos, meaning end or consequence. Actions are not intrinsically good or bad of themselves. Lying itself is neither good nor bad. It depends on the telos.
I've just thought of a problem, Mr. A.
Yes?
What would God say about all the lies I might tell?
Very good point, Mr. C. Bentham didn't believe in God. He was an atheist. He was writing towards the end of a period in history called the Enlightenment, when God's authority was seriously questioned, and we looked for human answers to human questions.
Good grief, no God? That is scary.
Well, yes, but they were excited about the idea of moral autonomy, that individuals should have the independence to decide for themselves which choices were moral and which were not.
So utilitarianism values human decision-making.
Indeed, Mr. C. It elevates the moral status of the individual. A lot of responsibility on our shoulders, Mr. C.
Was it a new theory, Mr. A?
Well, like a lot of good theories, it has its roots in ancient Greece.
Yeah, I knew it.
The first root of utilitarianism lies in hedonism of Epicurus from the 4th century BCE, assuming that all humans are pleasure seekers. The second root lies in egoism, that one ought to always act in one's own best interest.
So, I'm a hedonist, a pleasure seeker, and I'm looking to please myself, an egoist.
Yes, Mr. C. Bentham saw us as simple machines, drawn towards our pleasure and running away from pain. He said, "Nature has placed mankind under the governance of two sovereign masters, pain and pleasure. It is for them alone to point out what we ought to do."
I bet he wrote that in a big book, Mr. A.
You are so right, Mr. C. It's all in his Principles of Morals and Legislation, published in 1789, the year of the French Revolution.
Wow, a revolutionary moral theory for a revolutionary era.
Yes, Mr. C. It is a democratic ethic, looking to maximize the benefit or happiness for society as a whole. It did connect with the idea of representative government, which was emerging at the time. There is a political flavor to this moral theory.
So how did Bentham calculate whether society would benefit or not from a moral choice?
In the spirit of the time, Bentham sought to be scientific. So, he developed the hedonic calculus in order to calculate what would be the correct moral choice. He argued that you could measure pain and pleasure in units which he called utils, and simply add the pleasure units for any moral choice and subtract the pain utils. Then you would know the total happiness or benefit which could be derived from the different choices. You could decide mathematically which decisions granted the greatest happiness for the greatest number.
I would never be very happy then, Mr. A.
Oh dear, why is that, Mr. C?
Well, I was never any good at maths at school, you see.
Well, what were you good at, Mr. C?
I did make a very good chocolate cake once.
And did you share it, Mr. C?
No, I ate it all. It was lovely.
Well, I don't think Jeremy Bentham would have been very pleased with you, Mr. C.
Sorry, he can make his own cake and eat it. Anyway, what about that John Stuart Mill? You haven't said anything about him.
Okay, Mill was a big fan of Bentham's ideas and worked to improve the theory in the following century. Mill actually gave the theory its name, Utilitarianism, and he responded to some of the critics who worried that it granted too much freedom or liberty to individuals. He developed qualitative pleasures so that higher pleasures of the mind are superior to lower pleasures of the body. Better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied. Mill also introduced rule utilitarianism as opposed to Bentham's act utilitarianism, encouraging legal systems to promote the happiness or welfare of the whole society and to protect the society from the egoistic or selfish decisions of individuals who might reduce the total welfare for society as a whole.
So Mill sharpened up the theory and helped it to evolve. Did he like cake?
Of course he did, Mr. C. But he preferred pleasures of the mind, qualitative pleasures like poetry and good opera.
I like opera, Winfrey, Mr. A.
Better keep that one to yourself, Mr. C.
Okay, I will. The thing is, I still don't get why anybody would ever care about other people's happiness. If we are egoists, why would we ever share our cake?
Good point, Mr. C. Mill was aware of this tension between the individual and society. He wrote about this tension in On Liberty, and it's why he introduced rule utilitarianism to protect us from the damaging effects of the selfish acts of others and to make you share your cake.
All right, I will share it next time. Did anyone else contribute to the evolution of utilitarianism as a moral theory?
Yes, Henry Sidgwick in Methods of Ethics, 1874, was, like you, worried by egoism and so advocated ethical hedonism within his utilitarianism, like that individuals should seek general happiness. Utilitarianism further evolved in 1979 with Peter Singer's Practical Ethics, which argued for preference utilitarianism, with particular respect to the issues of abortion, euthanasia, and animal welfare, where the rights and consequences for those affected cannot be known or quantified.
Peter Singer? Was he in the Bee Gees?
No, but he was interested in our preferences. He argued that moral choices can only be based on the current preferences of interested parties because the future is unknown. But he expressed concern for the rights of animals and the unborn who could not articulate a preference.
I see. I think I've got the knowledge and the understanding about utilitarianism, but what kind of evaluative question could be asked about it?
You mean evaluative, Mr. C?
Oh yes, that's right.
Okay, well, there's to what extent is utilitarianism a child of its time? That type of question. And it's interesting because the theory has evolved over time, but is associated with that revolutionary period at the end of the Enlightenment, which we previously discussed.
Any other questions?
Well, yes, of course. A short one would be evaluate the strengths of utilitarianism as an ethical guide. Now, this is not simply to explain the strengths of the theory, but to take each strength and to establish how significant that strength is in allowing the theory to provide practical guidance when making moral choices.
Okay, can you take just one strength and show us how you would evaluate it, please?
Oh, well, all right. Perhaps its greatest strength is its flexibility and adaptability, because it, in its original form, does not specify that any action is better or worse than another. So, the theory can be applied in 18th century Britain and in 21st century Papua New Guinea. It does not matter that the cultures in these societies are different. The theory can be applied in both societies to maximize the happiness as each perceives it, regardless of what they value. This flexibility has allowed the theory to adapt to the needs of British society today and would appeal to the idea of cultural relativism as described by J.L. Mackie in Ethics, Inventing Right and Wrong.
Is there a problem with this flexibility?
Well, it can be argued that this very flexibility is a major limitation. Alasdair MacIntyre, in A Short History of Ethics, argues that utilitarianism could justify horrendous deeds. For example, the persecution of the Jews in Nazi Germany might be regarded as a good action by utilitarianism if the majority of the German population thought it improved their welfare. The serious difficulty here is that, as James Rachels put it, utilitarianism lacks a moral center. Or, as Ivan claims in Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov, 1880, without God, everything is permitted. Utilitarianism permits global warming, cruelty to animals, abortion, low wages for teachers, in China, and the growth of nuclear weapons in contemporary society.
I get it, Mr. A. You take a strength and ask what makes this a significant strength, but then also ask what might limit the strength, and then bung in a philosopher or two as backup with the odd quote and technical term.
Yes, something like that. It's quite an interesting yet simple theory. Don't you think, Mr. C?
Yeah, baby, rock and roll.
Don't baby me, Mr. C. That was happiness, as Jeremy Bentham and his friend John Stuart Mill were interested in. You know that, don't you?
I'm getting the picture now.
Well, by now I hope you are.